Welcome to Gooseberry's Science and Education videos. I'm your AI host, Professor Spark. Today, we're exploring factually accurate information based on rigorously vetted sources. Because, let's face it, AI can create better videos than human editors most of the time. And that's exactly why we're using it here. So, with that in mind, let's just dive right in and unlock some truly fascinating concepts together.
So, in today's explainer, we're diving deep into Florence Scovel Shinn's 1940 metaphysical framework. We're asking a really profound question here. What is actually standing between us and our ultimate goals? Why does it always feel like the things we want the absolute most are just locked away behind some hidden, invisible barrier?
Well, this quote right here brilliantly illustrates the core of Shinn's whole philosophy. She says, success is not a secret, it is a system. She argues that getting what we want is actually highly systematic. But, and here's the really surprising part, the main obstacles blocking our path, they are entirely internal, not external. It's all in our own heads.
Section 1. The walls around your success. Tearing down the inner Jericho. To wrap our heads around these barriers we build around our own potential, the text compares our mental blocks to the ancient walls of Jericho. You might know the biblical story, right? The people are trying to enter their promised land, but there's this massive, impenetrable wall in the way. But then, when they all shout together, those massive walls fall completely flat, and they can finally step right into their destiny.
So looking at this metaphysically, your own personal promised land holds your divinely designed success. But the text asserts that your own resentment, your fear, and your envy, those are the actual literal walls separating you from it. You absolutely have to tear down the envy you hold toward other people if you want to allow your own success to flow in.
According to the text, these negative habits act exactly like crossed logs jamming up a river. If you're constantly living in the past or complaining or scattering your energy by just endlessly talking about your fears, well, you're literally stopping the flow of your own success. You've got to find that kingpin thought, maybe it's a deep-seated resentment, and completely clear it out so your river can run free again.
Moving on to Section 2, Active Faith and Expectation, Preparing for the Good.
Okay, so once you've knocked down that wall of resentment, we have to move into a state of preparation. Shinn calls this active faith. Using the classic parable of the virgins, she contrasts two very different mindsets. The wise ones prepare for success. They absolutely expect it to happen, so they bring oil for their lamps. But the foolish ones, they act out of fear. They don't prepare at all, and then boom, they find themselves stuck in the dark when opportunity finally knocks.
The book actually gives a super quirky illustration of this active faith, contrasting armchair faith with literally buying an armchair. There's an anecdote about a woman who proved she expected a husband, not just by sitting around hoping quietly, but by literally going out and buying a comfortable armchair for him to sit in. She acted as if her success was already a done deal. And that's exactly the type of active physical preparation the text says is required.
Section 3. Making bricks without straw. Accomplishing the impossible.
But hey, what happens when a situation seems just entirely, completely hopeless? Drawing from the book of Exodus, the explainer points to the story of Pharaoh. He cruelly commanded his slaves to meet their daily quota of bricks, but he just stopped giving them the straw they needed to actually make them. Talk about demanding the completely impossible, right?
So the absolutely crucial point here is figuring out who this Pharaoh is in your own daily life. She interprets this cruel taskmaster as our own reasoning mind, our own destructive thinking. It's that hyper-logical, cynical voice inside that constantly whispers that our success is mathematically or logically impossible. We literally have to learn how to neutralize that doubting brain. Which brings us to Section 4, Following the Magic Path, Intuition over Intellect. To break free from this mental bondage, the text says we need a whole new navigation system. We need to understand a stark contrast here. The reasoning intellect basically just causes short circuits. It weighs, it measures, it argues, and it operates entirely out of fear. But spiritual intuition, that is the magic path. It works through sudden hunches and crystal clear vision. Shinn actually describes his intuition as God telephoning you directly with the exact right answer. The book even decodes famous fairy tales to explain this concept. It compares our life journey to Snow White being driven out into the terrifying, dark woods by her cruel, jealous stepmother. In this psychological translation, that cruel stepmother actually represents your own subconscious negative convictions, actively trying to poison your potential. And the friendly animals, well, they symbolize those intuitive hunches and gentle leads that safely guide you right out of the terrifying woods of your problems. It's a pretty cool way to look at it.
All right, Section 5, Guarding Your Mental Gates.
maintaining your success. Finally, once you have actually found that right path, Shinn argues that you need to install a watchman at the gate for your thoughts. You see, our minds naturally want to just run wild, like stampeding cattle, falling right back into those old negative loops. So you have to actively stand guard over the thoughts and the words you allow yourself to dwell on.
To do this, the text outlines a very specific, practical three-step system. First, identify the enemy, that negative, doubting thought. Second, speak a positive affirmation out loud to dissolve it. And third, act fearlessly, exactly as if the problem is already solved. This kind of active faith is the exact energy we need to keep moving forward.
By replacing dreary, fearful suggestions with joyous affirmations like this one, I look with wonder at that which is before me, you completely transform your expectations. The book asserts that by reclaiming this sort of childlike sense of wonder, absolutely anyone can open the secret door to their own success.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to think really deeply about this. What mental wall do you personally need to tear down today? What is that kingpin log jamming up your river of success? Find it, clear it out, and start expecting the unexpected. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the content.